Hey folks, welcome to Transplant Helper. Today, my name is Jim Burrow. I apologize already because I'm kind of driving while I'm doing this, so obviously I won't be making a lot of camera contact, eye contact with you. I'll be focusing on the road, which I should. In addition to that, it'll probably be kind of loud in here because there's a lot of road noise coming in or whatever. I apologize. I'll do what I can to fix that a little bit later. But anyway, as I'm driving here today, I'm traveling over to UAB. I've got a couple of tests I'm trying to have done, just follow-up stuff, no big deal. And I'm also looking forward to visiting several patients in the hospital, pre and post-transplant patients, trying to support them, uphold them, do what I enjoy to do. And while I'm kind of driving, I started thinking about my life. I started reflecting on my life as to what it is. And I started to be reminded that even though in some instances and to some extent in my life, I probably at times felt like I've been cursed by what I had to deal with, I've certainly found a way to find the blessing in that curse. And the reason I decided to bring that out is because I think many of you who are watching this right now, if you're dealing with a transplant life, pre or post-transplant, you're dealing with that because of some sort of failures, organ failures in your life. And there are going to be very difficult days, months, years maybe, where you might feel cursed to be in the position you are. But I promise you at the end of this, if you'll be careful with it, you can find blessing. And let me try to describe this by using my story, okay? I was born in 1975 with transposition of great vessels, or arteries, as some refer to it. And I wasn't going to make it. And so fast forward, the doctors decided at 6 months old that I would have to have open heart surgery and that it was a do or die situation. They went ahead and did that, and they repaired my problem to a small extent. It gave me some life at least. But all the while I was growing up, life was never easy. As a child, I had some pretty major restrictions on what I could do as far as running and jumping and playing and participating in organized sports. Those were the types of things I couldn't do. And I could remember thinking as a kid, life's just not fair. I want to do what all my friends are doing. I want to be just like them. But the truth was I wasn't like them, and life was not, going to be what I thought or hoped it might be. And I can remember at one point even thinking to myself, that word, using the word maybe, that I'm cursed, something's wrong here. Fast forward in my life, I actually did pretty good. Obviously survival was a great priority and a great thing. I survived and I made it on to teenage years, young adulthood. Eventually I met a woman who would become my wife, and we were dating and all, and really just having a good time. She had no idea at that point what I had been through or what I was going through. And when she found out, she was pretty much worried about it. She was disturbed that she was in love with a person who was, and to some extent already in heart failure, and to some extent not facing the best of days. But we moved on, we got married. We actually had our first child. My daughter was born. And after she had been born about, I think it was around 17, 18 months, life was rocking on. It was the best it could be at least. We were happy. I was working, 50, 60, 70 hours a week at times, able to support my family, proud to do that. And then all at once, I was there at home one day playing around with my daughter. My wife was in the kitchen. She was cooking some supper or something like that after work. And my daughter was in and out of the room. She went out of the room and came back, and she said, "Mommy's sick." Of course, that scared me. I went in the room, and I found my wife laying stretched out, completely flat on the couch, unable to move at all except for moving her eyes. And that's not a good position. That's not a good situation to be in. Of course, had no idea what was going on. We ended up in the emergency room, and not just that emergency room, but several emergency rooms. And for several months, she really didn't get any better. She really didn't make any improvements. And for several months, life was very, very hard. As a matter of fact, we ended up traveling to every hospital we could find locally. Went as far as the Mayo Clinic. Got no results. Did not know what was wrong with my wife. She was in rehabilitation, she's doing all sorts of things. I was still working 50, 60 hours a week, coming home, taking care of my 18-month-old daughter, taking care of my wife, bathing them at night. I had to have sitters during the day. It was not easy. And to tell you the truth, like most of you might describe a situation like that, I thought that time in life was, I don't know what to call it, but hell on earth. It was not easy. It was another part of my curse, you know. I'm living this life that's far from easy as a congenital heart patient, grown up now. But now I've got a wife who's paralyzed, and life is hard. So I rocked on through that. A few years later, we got a diagnosis. My wife has gotten better. Things are not perfect, but she's done better. Now, you move on there to about 2006, around 2006. So from 2001 when she fell ill, roughly 2006, I started having major problems now. My congenital heart condition had declined. The repair had begun to fail, and I was diagnosed as being in stage 4 heart failure, and now being told I needed a transplant. And of course, my mindset then was, I don't want to do that. And I saw those roles reverse. I saw me going from caregiver to my wife and child to now them being my caregivers, and me sleeping 15, 16 hours plus a day, and just life wasn't going good. And again, I thought, this is hard, and I felt like I was cursed. I mean, just a terrible time in our lives. I couldn't see any good coming out of that. Now, fast forward on to 2013. You know part of this now. I received the gift of life. I received my heart transplant. And I feel very, very blessed to have done that. But you see, the blessing that I possess is not just about physical abilities. Every day is not perfect as a transplant recipient, as a matter of fact. Some of you already know that. But it's not just about my physical capabilities. It's not just about even the opportunities I'm talking about. Sometimes being the transplant helper, being to visit and mentor and assist and educate other people. I love to do that. No, the real blessings I've gotten from my curses, and maybe there are those three at least now, my original heart condition, my wife's paralysis, my transplant, and having to deal with all that came with that, nearly dying, waiting. The real blessing I've gotten is that I know that life is hard, but life is also a blessing. And I look back on those situations, and I promise you, none of them I thought this way while they were going on. While I was dealing with, as a child, dealing with that, not a good thing. When I was dealing with my wife being sick, terrible thing. I hated it. While I was dealing with me being sick, and them me, none of us enjoyed that. But I look back now, and I say, those things seem to be cursed times, cursed moments, cursed years even. But what a blessing they've been to give me insight and to give me a relation, to situations that most people never have to, and I pray they don't, but never have to endure. And then to have the ability to go through that and every one of those situations to help me grow, to help me become, I hope, a better person, to help me become someone who can relate to others, that has been a blessing. Okay, a complete blessing. And there are moments I wouldn't say this, but today's one of those days, and most days are those days, when I'm going to say this about it. I wouldn't trade my trials in life, my curses, for anything. And if I had to go through any of those or something new all over again, I can do that. I can do that. I can face that. With excitement and joy, maybe not. But with just confidence in knowing that, yes, we can deal with very difficult things in life and make it, absolutely. And so I said all that. I know it's been a long kind of a story almost, but I said all that to encourage you. If you're watching this video and you're dealing with anything in life, but especially I relate better to transplant patients pre or post, if sometimes your life seems like that living hell, if sometimes your life seems like it's just cursed, it's not going to be easy. I'm not implying that it is, but take those times to learn. Take those times to grow. Take those times to reach out. Take those times to help start preparing, at least when you're able physically, to help others. And I promise you'll be blessed in doing that. Again, I apologize because I'm driving today and you hear all this noise, big truck next to me now. But yeah, that was just on my mind, and I thought I would share it. I really appreciate all of you, every one of you who subscribe to my channel. Big thumbs up to you. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for being a part of the Transplant Helper community, which is a community I'm a part of. I enjoy. And I just want you to do what you can to encourage others and to see the blessings in spite of whatever curses you see in your life. Friends, if you ever have any needs, any reason to reach out, please go ahead and do that. Comment below if you like to just talk to the community. It's always a plus. And I don't know, but until next time, I'm going to keep traveling here, so I'll let you go. Until next time, please stay stronger, friends.